Hello, welcome back for day 3 of our Shameless self-care challenge. I'm so excited to be here again with you today, and I know I said it yesterday, but the response and the engagement and the feedback and the insights, and some of you have reached out to me personally, privately, all of it is just so beautiful. Hey Sarah, is so beautiful to witness and be part of, and thank you so much for sharing and for being in this community. Hey Kristen, thanks for being here. Claire, hello. Okay, so day 3, just to quickly recap what we have been doing and what we're doing here, why we're here. We have been working with establishing shameless self-care and talked a lot about shame. If you have followed me for like 2 seconds, you know that is a huge part of my work and of my passion and of my own story, and empowering women to unravel this deep shame programming that is truly, it's like a whole legacy of shame. And I'm sure all of us can think back to our mothers, our grandmothers, and if you have any other kind of female motherly figures, maybe they're not your biological people, you can see this deep line of feminine shame that exists in the collective, it exists in our lineage. So unraveling all of that bullshit programming is something I am very, very passionate about, and it's like my calling. So when it comes to self-care, it's very hard, as I talked about on day 1, it's very hard to consistently show up for ourselves and care for ourselves if we're carrying around this baggage of shame, right? It's hard to love something and care for something of which you are ashamed. And shame is so subtle and nuanced and has very different flavors that it can show up as, right? Like guilt, embarrassment, anger, resentment, all of these are like the little offshoots. So like shame is the parent, right? And they're all like the little offshoots. I always end up making crazy finger puppets and very gesticulated when I'm on here. So if you're a visual learner, it's quite helpful. If not, you're like, that's a little distracting, Devon. Anywho, so we have clarified our unique shameless self-care why. That was on day 1, because for any endeavor in life, when you can have that clearly defined why that is unique to you and to what you need and is very personally connected, it's going to make everything so much more easeful. Because when stuff does get challenging, because life has its ebbs and flows, it's, you know, it's got waves, it's just a beautiful, rich experience, and sometimes it's a little easeful, sometimes it's a little turbulent. And whatever the current brings in, when we have that clear why, nothing matters. We kind of become invincible. So we established our clear why on Monday. And yesterday we talked a lot about boundaries. Hey, Roberta. And defined our boundaries. And we talked about, you know, boundaries existing on the outside, and also we have boundaries within ourselves, especially when it comes to not wanting to look at parts of ourselves that we may not like, that we may deem as unworthy or shameful or ugly or painful or whatever the case may be, and talks about how to reorient ourselves with our boundaries. And we have practiced mudras, we have practiced dancing to get us back into that spirally way of being and out of the linear way of being. And I loved the little assignment from yesterday. I love that one so much. I made that up for a client a while back, and I just loved it. The C, D, or E. So we've had like multiple choice questions throughout our life in school. And so just remembering C, D, or E when it comes to your responsibilities or your tasks, and that's collaborate, delegate, or eradicate. So those are really kind of our options when our plate starts to get full, or if we have something and we don't have that immediate kind of intuitive knowing of what to do with this thing that we're presented with. A way to tune back into it is go, okay, do I need to collaborate? and do this with someone? Do I need to delegate it entirely, like give it to someone else to be done because it still has to be done? Or is this just so not up serving what I am up to right now? So all of those are in the other videos. They were awesome. All of the comments and engagement is just so beautiful and humbling and truly an honor to witness. And I love this group and all of you. And this why that you've established, as well as Kristen, you're angry. Just got a little angry emoji face. And Claire's been D'ing. I've D'd and I'm eing. I love it. Sweet. Yeah, and you'll find that we tend to have patterns. So I am one of those people that has tended towards the biting off more than I can chew at times, sure. But more than that, just like doing it all myself. So reaching out for support and to collaborate and even delegate has been an opportunity for growth and very rewarding as a result. So you'll see you've got a pattern like, oh, I don't do a lot of collaborating, or I don't do a lot of eradicating. I'm just kind of like nom 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 taking it all in, and it can be very, very telling. So Kristen, I don't know how that happened. It's cool. I was like, what did I say? Just getting angry. That's cool. Get angry. I love anger. Oh, and I've danced. What's more, my husband danced with me, a slow dance in the kitchen. We have never done that. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. I bet that felt really, really good for both of you. For both of you. Because they have these, I mean, this will take me down a whole nother rabbit hole, but they have these needs too. We're not the only ones who are very disconnected and severed from our spirally ways. And regardless of your physical anatomy or your gender identification, this notion of feminine shame, and I just use the word feminine because it's something that we can all relate to, but in my work and in my lexicon, with my clients and in talking with my friends or my partner, I like the terms spiral and triangle better for feminine and masculine, because I have found that feminine and masculine, those words are very charged and can come loaded with preconceived notions and connotations that take us away from like what I'm really trying to get at. It's a deeper energetic way of being. So I think as a whole, again, regardless of gender identification or physical anatomy, we're all quite disconnected from just the innate pulsations and rhythms and spirally way of being, and really from nature. I mean, she is the ultimate mirror, an ultimate example of spiral and cyclical and rhythmic ways of being. Can you imagine if it was summer 24/7 365? Like, she's not meant to sustain that. We're not meant to sustain that. So to be told and shamed, to be told we're meant to be at this even baseline, right? Don't have emotional expressions or outbursts. Don't age. Don't let your body change. Don't do anything that is different, right? Everything is just everlasting and the same at this even base. That is downright impossible. And so then when it cannot be achieved, it fills you with shame. Yeah? So long story short, back to you dancing with your partner, Claire. I imagine that was incredibly nourishing for him as well, because it's not just us. Although I truly believe that women are more connected to that spiral, and when that disconnection happens, it's even more traumatic and even more felt. So I think that we have to model that for them. So giving him that opportunity, I'm sure, was so incredibly nourishing for him, and I love that you guys did that. And Roberta, need to catch up on the dance homework. Yeah, it was yesterday to get in touch with this spirally way. Just dance. I mean, truly, if we can all just do like a song a day. I get that we're busy. We're so busy, and life just seems to get faster and crazier, but we can all spare one song a day. Even no song. just kind of tune into, let your body be the music. Just play with that. I've always wondered what men were supposed to do for their version of our natural movement dancing. Yeah. I think that they have it too. I mean, I can't really speak to that because I've only been in a woman's body in this lifetime, but that's something that my husband and I talk about a lot, and he has practices of his own, and we will go out. We live like in the middle of the woods and are surrounded by trees, and we will go out and have our own little times together in kind of our own style of connection and dancing and meditating, and we'll kind of just mirror the trees and go into our own natural primal movements in response to the trees. So I am a very firm advocate for embodiment practices such as those, and really just trusting and following your body. Dance and shimmy in my kitchen every day. Yes! I always dance in my kitchen too. Kitchens just seem to be the place to dance. Roberta, Claire, me, anyone else dance in their kitchen? That's the thing to do. So, all right. That leads all of this, our why and our boundaries and all of the things that we've discussed thus far this week lead us perfectly to today, which is all about self-responsibility and discipline. And I think the main thing here, just like in a sentence, is that no one can make us happy except for us, period. And to be in a state of living in that place of self-responsibility is, Kristen dances in her kitchen too, sweet. Living in that place of self-responsibility means that we recognize our life is an inside job. So it starts in here. We literally are creating everything at all times. We are creating all of it. So we are literally birthing energy or spirit or whatever you want to call it, these ideas, these beliefs, these mindsets, whatever they may be. If they're supportive in what you want, or if they're old programming and aren't what you want. We are that powerful that we are receiving or creating or envisioning these things and then putting it into existence. And especially with the power of the energy of our womb space. So whether it's, we look at these things physically, like birthing babies, right? The womb is the vessel, the chalice, through which another piece of the universal divine consciousness, a soul, a spirit, whatever you like to call it, whatever resonates with you, enters. And then we fashion a little human body out of it, right? Just kind of the little pieces come together, and then we birth it into the world. So that exact same thing, that concept on a more intangible, abstract way exists for our life. We are literally creating it. We are receiving it, envisioning it, and then putting it out there. And this happens every day, all the time, on a very reactive, habitual way. So if our bodies and our lives and the things that we're doing are being created or recreated, regenerated, constantly doing the same thing, and it's something that we don't like, we've got the power to change it. And so all of that isn't meant to be, like a blaming type thing, like, oh, look what you've created, your life sucks and you don't like it, well, too bad, that's what you get. No, it's actually really fucking empowering if you think about it. It's like, okay, if I have created this out of a very programmed, habitual kind of sleepwalking state, what's possible from a very empowered, conscious, creating type place where I accept responsibility and I accept my role as creator? What's possible from there? That's just like, oh, right? Little kind of giddy goosebumps, like, oh, what can I do? This is awesome. So that's self-responsibility on a very big, broad, quite abstract, esoteric way. In a more kind of everyday example type of way, we can look at it as, like I preface this whole thing with, happiness is an inside job. Fulfillment and wholeness and nourishment are inside jobs. And so taking responsibility for ourselves, and we have this clear why that we've established, what we are looking for out of self-care and time with ourselves. And we know what we need from our boundaries, and we're taking responsibility now to put all of that into place. So self-responsibility also, aside from recognizing that we are the creators, is not allowing ourselves to succumb to this victim mentality. And that is something, I have been so good at. I'll go ahead and throw myself out there. I have done that so many times. That was so much of my early life because I was so full of anger and resentment and shame towards my childhood. So then it was so easy for me to fall into that victim mode where, the world owes me something, or, of course I'm fucked up, look where I came from. And all, these other very subtle programs. And the subtle is always creating the gross. That is like my mantra in my work. The subtle is always creating the gross. Those subtle aspects being your emotional body, your mental body, your energetic, spiritual body, those unseen, intangible realms that we talked about a few minutes ago. All of that is the building blocks that are influencing and directing the creation of the physical. Whether it's your body or your like 3D reality, your experience in life, what you accept, what's okay for you, what you stand for, who you attract in your life, all of these things are influenced and directly related to these subtle parts. So again, taking responsibility and looking at, okay, what are my subtle parts looking like? What am I telling myself? What is influencing the physical creation of my life? Because I think so many times, I know, so many times we are fixated on the physical, right? I'll keep using myself as an example. I'm an open book, I don't mind. I used to have, and I mean, you know this, I've talked about this so many times, but I used to have such a drinking problem, and I was a smoker, and I also was so overweight, and I would get so fixated on the physical parts. Why can't I just quit smoking? Or why can't I just lose weight? And I think a lot of us do that. Why am I attracting shitty relationships? Why do I hate my job? And it's just looking at the like physical surface thing, and that's never gonna do it. That's Band-Aid. You're just gonna slap Band-Aids on it. Like Jenny Craig is a Band-Aid. Sure, you might lose weight. You might, any Jenny Craig could be anything. Going on a month-long smashing yourself at the gym, losing 10 pounds thing. It's a Band-Aid. Or, any of these other things. You need to go deeper. So, accepting responsibility is really kind of that ultimate gateway to sustained, consistent, authentic self-care in a shameless way. Roberta wants that on a t-shirt. I know, I do too. My husband always tells me, because that's kind of like the Devon InnerSpark like mantra. He's always telling me we should make something, some kind of t-shirt or something. The subtle creates the gross. So how's this responsibility thing landing? Any insights, questions, comments, reflections? Maybe little angry emojis if Kristen's still here. Do it. We will. We definitely will. He'll do it. He loves that stuff. He's my tech guru. And if you listen to my podcast, he's my producer and my little co-host to work as my translator, because I can get very animated and excited, so he'll kind of bring it back down to earth and make it a little more digestible if I've started to get a bit out there, which I'm good at. And if you haven't listened to my podcast, you need to listen to my podcast, because it's amazing and it's so much fun. Subtle Medicine, available on all platforms that podcasts are available on. You can go to innerspark.life/podcast for all the links. Little commercial. So yeah, any questions, any comments, I'll just let that simmer, let that roll in. But ultimately, self-responsibility is the gateway to this consistent, sustainable, authentic self-care. And we talked about on Monday, how self-care, we can get so caught up in having it be this thing that we have to put on our to-do list, or it has to look a certain way. Like, getting your nails done is self-care. And I think Claire or somebody was like, I actually don't like getting my nails done. Yeah, I don't either. That's not self-care for me. That's actually really boring and torturous for me, personally. Some people love it, and that's beautiful. It's about finding what works for you. And that's where that why and those boundaries came in, to make sure that it can happen. And then the self-responsibility piece is like, why isn't it happening? What is really happening? How much deeper do I need to look here, and to understand and clearly get to the heart of why the self-sabotage is showing up, or why these other blocks and barriers are showing up. So that leads me to the discipline piece. Right, and one more thing about responsibility. We know it's all of our life is an inside job. And we then also recognize, for example, if we're feeling depleted, or if our plates are full, it's up to us to seek that relief. It's not up to anyone else. No one's going to read our mind. No one's going to, swoop in and save us, or whatever any of those things might look like. And before I just move into discipline and then wrap it up with today's practices, I'll see what y'all been saying. My soul drives my life and takes 100% responsibility for my human expression. I love that. That needs to be on a t-shirt, Roberta. That's beautiful. Or like on a card. I could totally see that on an oracle deck. And Linda, hey babe, I'm glad you're here, Linda. Responsibility, that word came up in meditation recently for me. Being 100% responsible for my own energy. I thought I was, but realized ways I was still expecting someone else to handle it. Yeah, it's so easy. And there's so much wrapped up in that. And I shared a few moments ago that was my way of operating for so long, was in total victim mode and wanting someone to save me or read my mind. Especially when my husband and I were first together, it was like why don't you just know what I'm thinking, or what I want, or how to fix this, or how to create this? And he's like, well, if you don't tell me and communicate it with me, I won't know. And there is another perfect example of how shame can also show up. I was ashamed of the needs I was having, and the fact that I would need to express that I needed help, or that something needed to change, or I needed something from him, that it was almost easier just to stew and point fingers and be in the victim than it was to be in that more tender, expressive state, that spirally way of being, because that felt shameful. So maybe just feel into if some of that might be happening. And, there will always be something new to keep looking at, and that's beautiful. We don't want to be stagnant. We want to keep having a very rich experience of ourselves and of each other and of this life. I mean, it's pretty fucking awesome. I'm looking out the window right now. I'm just like, really? This is beautiful. The podcast is awesome. Thank you, Kristen. Thank you. We'll have a new episode out tomorrow, actually, all about Yoni. Doing my improv workshop is my self-care, being, I think that was visible, loud, showy, and silly. Yeah, I imagine that's very, almost just freeing to get to experience that side of you and really let it out, and in a very embodied way too. Improv, you use your whole body, and that's amazing. I'd love to see you if I ever make it out to your way across the pond. I'd love to come check it out. Being spiritually aware is a massive blast. Since the true awareness, oh boy, I feel like a child seeing things for the first time. It's beautiful, exciting, awesome, and loving. Totally, Claire. And that's that rich experience of life that I'm talking about. And hey, Moon. caught you live. Still struggling with yesterday's dance practice. I'm stiff as a stick. Somebody else said that too from yesterday about the dance, feeling just stiff and awkward, and she was having some stories about the early programming and conditioning that she had received around, you know, dancing is inappropriate and all of these things, and operating and living from such a linear, rigid way of being that it can feel really foreign to go back into that more natural way. And I would just invite all of us to remember that that is our natural way. This is all kind of unnatural. That was our first language. And then it's like we were adopted by these really, interesting people, interesting culture. And we were taught this other language and forgot our first one and forgot everything about that. And now we're reconnecting with that. So just consistency, still showing up for it in a manner that is loving discipline. Perfect segue. So discipline. A lot of us have a lot of different connotations with that word. I know that can be a very charged word. Discipline is either very loving and kind and is used to nourish our boundaries and nourish our why and our lives, or it's punishing and rigid and based in fear. And having that clear why and those boundaries really give our discipline somewhere to go. We don't feel lost, and we don't turn on ourselves through self-sabotage or through withholding or any of these other ways that we do, giving up, feeling defeated, using that energy, that discipline energy to continue to keep ourselves down, right? So discipline can be a very loving way of gently training ourselves to show up consistently, to rewire these neural pathways of ours that have been brainwashed in a way that serves our why and serves the vision that we really hold for our lives and serves what we're wanting to create and experience. It's us ultimately parenting ourselves in the ways that we needed and maybe didn't receive. And it's a way of soothing and witnessing the, at times, unruly inner child who's running the show and can be tantruming at times, have their little tantrum episodes. So all shadow behaviors are unmet needs that are being expressed by this inner little us who's just like, meh, right? And so through that loving discipline, we can meet, this is the best part, all right? So really pay attention. Through that loving discipline, we can meet the needs of the wounded part in a way that also supports where we're headed now, towards our why, and with clearer boundaries. So we get to support and witness the little tantruming us and shift her towards where we're headed now. So it really is this loving, you get to be that, and I'm not bagging on anyone's parents, but it's like you get to be that ultimate parental figure that you may have wanted or that you may need now. Maybe you did have that, and at times you still need that. So it's just, it's bringing it all together and parenting and loving on yourself. Feed discipline with inspiration rather than motivation. Margaret, I was just thinking the same. With inspiration rather than motivation. I don't know who Margaret is. I imagine there's a little inside joke happening, but I do like that quote. Inspiration rather than motivation. Yeah. So, before we wrap this up, because I'm on one today, I could just keep going. And I'd like to keep this not ridiculously long so that anyone watching the replay doesn't see like, oh God, it's 45 minutes? F that, I ain't watching. Am I the only one who ever does that? No, I'm just kidding. If it's somebody I really, really want to watch, I will watch. I called Claire's inner child Margaret. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I love naming our different parts, kind of personifying the different parts of ourselves. And I talked about parts yesterday, and befriending them and working with them, and naming them can be a very helpful tactic, kind of personifying each of them, kind of getting that little bit of distance to objectively see them with a broader perspective. I like that. That's awesome. So anything right now, what is up for you? I have the little all-seeing eye icon. You are still here with me. Give me something. Self-responsibility. You're the creator of your experience. What does discipline look like for you? What does that feel like? Just the word. Anything. Bring it on. Any questions, any comments, any feedback. For today, while that's rolling in, I'll just get to today's practices. And remember, participating in all of them, as I mentioned in all the videos and above in the end of the comments, participating in some fashion for each day makes you eligible to enter into the drawing to win my new course. So do it. For today, the practices are to reflect on the questions above about responsibility and discipline, and to practice, because I'm going to give you a little self-care practice each day too, maybe something to play with, to add to your repertoire, or refresh you on if it's something you've already used before. Today is alternate nostril breathing, and we'd use this one in September or sometime for the fall grounding challenge, but this is one of my favorites. It's incredibly harmonizing and equalizing and really helps to integrate all of these parts. And so I feel like today, as we look at self-responsibility and discipline, and these shadowy parts of ourselves, like the wounded inner child, it's very helpful to integrate all of these parts, to witness them, and to do so from a place of equalization and harmony. Yeah? So let's do it. Alternate nostril breathing. You will take your right hand and curl these fingers in. You can do pinky and thumb, or you can do ring finger and thumb. There are different traditions and different disciplines that will tell you either way. There's also a version where you can use this one. I'm not terribly concerned with satisfying a lineage. I am concerned that you have a great experience and are comfortable. So if anyone's watching and is like, oh, it needs to be that way, I apologize. Like I said, those are the 3 different ways. That way, that way, that way. I'm about you being comfortable. So I prefer this way. You will take this. You will block your right nostril. This part is important. You will block your right nostril and inhale through your left. A full, deep inhale. I just read Roberta's comment. Her inner child doesn't like alternate nostril breathing. So a full, deep inhale through the left nostril. You will then take this finger and block the left nostril and exhale out the right. Then you will inhale through the right. Block the right, exhale through the left. Inhale through the left. Block the left, exhale through the right. Inhale right. Block right. Exhale left. And your eyes would be closed. I don't know why I'm looking at the screen like I'm watching you, but your eyes would be closed. Turning the attention inward. If it's comfortable for you, turning the awareness and attention towards the center of your head, up towards third eye. So kind of, it's a gentle rolling eyeballs in and up. And if that's just kind of uncomfortable and a very new, weird concept, play with it. Again, not important. So focus on the equalizing of the spirally and triangular side of your body, the feminine and masculine side. The left side is the more spirally feminine, the right side is the masculine. And just imagine as you're doing this, all of the various parts of yourselves are kind of laying down their weapons, dropping their masks, and are coming out to play. They're coming out to play, they're coming out to be seen, and they are dropping this illusion of separateness within, and these different, well, my inner child sucks and I have these shadow parts and I really just want to be this person, just kind of dropping all of that, and they're all getting to come back together in a loving, harmonious way. And it might take a little bit of loving self-discipline to get yourself to commit. I said do at least 5 minutes. That was my suggestion above. Really like 10 minutes of this, my God, you'll be a whole new person, truly. But just start with 5. If the inner child, Roberta, I see you, is just like, F this, start with 5. And just imagine that as you're doing it, and have a good time. Again, this is one of my favorite practices. It's great for balancing hormones. It's great for balancing just life in general. Linda, would this be a good practice during an emotional trigger, trying to notice body sensations more to know when I'm anxious and want easy tools to use in those moments? Yes, this one is excellent for anxiety. Very good for anxiety. Anxiety usually results when there is this subtle inner conflict. Some type of conflict, some type of attraction, repulsion. I want this and I don't know if it's okay, or I want to and I don't feel safe. Some type of little, it can feel big, but it's usually a very subtle, not very easily consciously recognized conflict that's taking place. So again, this is very harmonizing and balancing to kind of have those parts that are conflicted lay down their weapons and drop into more presence and awareness. And so yes, I feel like this would be an excellent practice for that, and just work with it. Next time you're feeling triggered like that, work with it. Really breathe into your body, and that will ground you, and then from that grounded place you can turn your awareness to your physical body and sensations therein, because it can be a little challenging to just enter the body and notice sensations when we're in that very ungrounded, scattered, anxious place. So this kind of brings you right here, right to the breath, to the nose. Hands are on the body, which is great. You got your hand on your nose, and then you can start to feel into sensations. I will get my daughter Ela to do this. She has OCD and anxiety. Yeah, it would be very helpful for her too. It's such a powerful, there are so many breath practices out there, and that's a huge part of my own practice, and I love them and will often prescribe them to clients, and this one is probably like the grandmother of them all that can really just benefit everyone. So enjoy that today. Enjoy playing around with and feeling into responsibility and discipline, and I look forward to any of your insights that will be shared, and I will see you for tomorrow for day 4. We got 2 days left of this thing. This has been so much fun. I love it. I don't want to end. Morning practice or evening for you? For this one, it's great anytime. This one I really happen to like in the later part of the day, the later afternoon or evening. But breath work in general, I'm doing something all the time. I'll probably get off here right now and do something. But this alternate nostril breathing is really great for that later part of the day, but really anytime at all. Whenever your anxiety tends to pick up, go for it. That's what I would advise, Linda. Whenever you feel most triggered, if there's a pattern, be preemptive with it. So if you feel morning is a little more anxious, do it before. If there's a pattern. Whenever you start to feel it, go for it. Hey, Alicia! Sierra, the breathing exercise. I am not sure what that means. My phone's about to kick me off, though. Sierra, I still don't understand, love. All right, babes. I will see you guys tomorrow. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Have a great rest of your day. Keep the questions coming and the insights, and I will see you tomorrow. Love.